Hey everybody, Adam Savage, and I am covering some Better Call Saul costumes in this video alongside Chuck Costas. How are you, my friend?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Better Call Saul just wrapped up its 6th season, and Prop Store is doing an auction with the proceeds going to charity. Is that right?
That is correct. A portion of the proceeds is going to 2 Albuquerque charities, yes.
Amazing. And what they have is a king's ransom of some iconic pieces from the entire run of Better Call Saul. We're going to cover some of the costume pieces here. First and foremost, it's Saul's American Samoa University sweatshirt.
Yeah, founded in 1979, as you'll see. So prior to the internet, I guess you could write in and get your law degree if you went to the University of American Samoa. And this is a shirt. I guess this is his comfort shirt. This is what he wears, as he's relaxing at home. And this particular version is interesting in that it's a distressed version.
Yeah.
Because he must have worn it like over and over and over again, and the cheap sweatshirt that comes from the University of American Samoa doesn't necessarily hold up well over time.
It looks like it's genuinely falling apart, but I can also see some whip stitches in there, seemingly to hold the deterioration at bay.
Yes, yes.
So that distressing is part of the storytelling of the show, I'm guessing.
I think they were playing around with different versions of that. And speaking of different versions, you'll see here that we've got actually a red version. So they were actually playing around with different colors, I guess, when they were thinking about what are Saul's color palette. And I guess they decided that gray, for whatever reason, was a better representation of Saul's character than the bright red, or maybe just the way it appeared on camera as well.
I love how ordinary it is. You wouldn't look twice at this in the bin at the Goodwill, right?
Well, I have a reproduction of this. I actually love wearing it around because you're showing that you're a Better Call Saul fan.
It's a deep cut.
It's a deep cut. People don't necessarily know it, but they might look at you funny, going, "Did you really go to University of American Samoa?" I'm like,
but
no.
In its ordinariness, it is informed by the incredible narrative of Better Call Saul and, of course, Breaking Bad, right? I've seen Bob Odenkirk wearing this so many times. I can't believe I'm seeing it up close and personal.
Yeah, it's a great representation of the character, and again, it has its own backstory. And I think even the slogan that's in there in Latin sort of also speaks to the character of, like, if you'll find a way of doing things.
Is that what the slogan means?
Yeah, essentially. And you'll see a lot of armed forces have used the same slogan as well. And it's interesting that they sort of adopted that for the University of American Samoa.
Amazing. Well, he is an improviser, right?
He did. He would always find a way of doing things, yes.
Okay, Chuck, I have a challenge for you, which is to talk to me about this suit without giving away any spoilers.
Yes. So, this is related to Saul. I won't necessarily say which persona, because everybody knows that he had many, many personas.
Yeah.
Actually, 4 different personas that he sort of played on the show. But what's interesting about this is that it was made to be filmed in black and white. So people have probably never seen the actual full color version of this.
Oh, wow.
Because it was in black and white. And so I guess the textures and the colors that they chose were made to show well in black and white film.
That is a whole different thing than I considered. Of course it is, right? Yeah. You need textures to show variance and the difference between one piece of material and the other.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, I guess, the way that they used black and white on the show, and they obviously use it at certain points in time to sort of show time jumps as far as where you're going, whether it's in the future. What I always found interesting is that the future is black and white in some ways, as opposed to the past being black and white. So it's just an interesting choice of how they decided to portray the future.
I'm hoping, because I haven't yet quite gotten to the very end of Better Call Saul, I'm hoping there is some narrative instruction about why the future's in black and white, but I'm just going to have to wait and see.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
I'm going to back up here. And I love we've got Kim and Hamlin over
Howard
here.
Hamlin, yes. So
Howard
these are
Hamlin.
sort of the lawyers. This is the lawyer suit, so to speak.
I love the fact that he's a giant.
He's a giant.
He's got to be
Patrick
like
Fabian.
6'3".
Yes. But what I love about it is the knit tie, because I remember wearing these back when I was in high school. You go to school and you put on your knit tie, and it was an easy thing to do. But this is part of his fashion, even though he's got probably the most high-end suit on the entire show. He's wearing a knit tie to go with it. But very well tailored.
Super well tailored. Those were gorgeous suits he wore.
Yeah, and I think it was, again, sort of speaks to his character, of his attention to detail, his perfectionism of how he wanted everything with his law firm and the way that he did things.
Yeah.
Very by the book, and so is his look.
And here we've got Rhea Seahorn's professional outfit.
This
Kim's
is one,
professional,
yes,
yeah.
and I think she's done a wonderful job, and congratulations on the Emmy nomination. Let's hope for the best.
100%.
Definitely deserved for that. But she wears a variety of different outfits. This is one that you sort of more common to her, but it's got a pop of color. I'd say most of her wardrobe, when we were looking at it, was as I had to say, was very bland. It was very gray and very and I think it spoke to the fact that she was not a flashy lawyer. She was one that was really trying to work for the middle class and really trying to help people out. And she tried to dress the part. And I wouldn't, these are not designer fabrics or, designer clothes that she would wear. These are things that you'd probably find off the rack as well, but fit very well. And I think she was also known very well for her shoes. And so this does come with a pair of her shoes that go on there.
Oh, that's
she would wear the higher heels on those too. So.
Yeah. I've had to wear these for an experiment, and they are not easy to walk around in.
I have not tried that, Adam, but I'll take your word for it.
Of course, I've been saving on this side of the equation the best for last. Before Giancarlo Esposito was the villain in everybody's television show, Vince Gilligan made him the villain in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. His Gus Fring is one of my favorite characters in television, and this is Gus's uniform, as it were.
This is, I mean, again, the everyday man, and I think this was his Chicken Man costume.
Yes.
Yellow like a chicken, which is kind of funny, but it's about as plain as you can get, aside from the boots. And I think the boots, he always wore these very sort of fancy boots with the elastic on the side of those. Those were sort of his typical thing, but typical shirt and all the rest of this. But what I love about this costume is this.
No way! It's a fake tie.
It's a clip-on tie. So I guess it goes with somebody that might be working there.
That's his everyman thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
So I'll put that down for now. But yeah, here, Adam.
Oh, here, I can do this. Here we go.
Oh, there you go.
And we'll pop it.
I did use a clip-on tie when I was younger. And
I did
probably
too.
8th grade, I think.
Well, so what I love. Look, I cosplay, which means I'm always thinking about how the costume exhibits and exudes the character. And you're right. This is a very quotidian yellow shirt, chinos, and yet there's a precision to it that speaks to the character. This shirt's been carefully tailored to fit his frame.
Yeah, and you always look in his closet, and it was just like yellow shirt, yellow shirt, yellow shirt, yellow shirt. I mean, he had his uniform, but he would keep it neatly aligned in his closet and put those on very always finely pressed, probably better than how we're displaying it right now. But he was also similar to Howard, very focused on making sure that his presentation, although as plain as you can get, was as perfect as you could get. And it's like his chicken.
And it's right, and it's like this Howard is trying to show off a bit, right? He's trying to create a certain space for you about what he represents. And Gus is doing the same thing.
Well, he's trying to hide in this costume.
But at the same time, he wants you to feel comfortable, right? Yeah. Like I'm around this and I just feel like, there's precision and purpose going on near me, you know?
Yeah, no, but I look at it as a contrast, and we have some of the other costumes where he's wearing, his sort of dark outfits that he's wearing when he's working with the Salamancas. Yes. And so he puts on the overcoat, and we actually have the overcoat that goes on it. But it is kind of funny, the transformation that the clothes will make as far as turning the Chicken Man into sort of the dark underworld guy, at least in the eyes of his peers. Well, and so, again, he's trying to impress his clients. He's trying to impress the Salamancas and the rest of the
Amazing.
Underground.
I can't believe the reveal that it is a clip-on tie. That just makes me so
And you've got
happy.
buttons here too, so about, as pedestrian as you can get.
Exactly, the French collar.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over here. We got some solid Mike stuff.
Yes.
Now, these guys, this is all from the trip to the desert. This is the end of season 5, or is it season? Yeah, season 5.
I believe so. Yeah. So this is they get stuck out in the desert for a number of episodes, and they become the target of gangs are coming after them because they've got these giant money bags with Lalo's money. So
spoiler, little tiny.
It's a little bit of a spoiler. I apologize there, but as part of their desert trek, he stubs his toe on these cactuses here, which the prop makers actually had to make this. So obviously, they didn't have to go play around. And
so they weren't going to kick a real cactus? Of course not.
No. So they actually have little spikes that go with the shoes, which is great too.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you place this before we did this. Is this the pee bottle?
Yes. Please do not drink. But this is what, again, not too much of a spoiler, but he, as you can see, Saul ends up carrying this around with him.
Things don't go well. Nothing about this outfit says this all went according to plan. And this is part of that plan. The tie he was wearing, right? And this is a different version of the same tie.
Yes.
Oh my God. And so Wow.
So you buy them separately. We
Yeah,
actually have
clearly.
them in there. And actually, as you alluded to, yes, there was pee in there at one point in time. We won't say what happens with it, but we actually found, it was funny as we were going through the props, it said put 8 drops of yellow dye to get to the correct consistency of the pee.
It was written right on the...
It was written next to the yellow dye, yes.
That is fantastic. I mean, so looking at this stuff up close, and we'll shoot some B-roll, you really get to see how the art department layers in the narrative of what's going on. Whenever I'm watching a show and someone's actively like bleeding and then the blood is on their shirt, I'm thinking about how many people are trying to take care and keep track of those stains and that progression, and this is the end of the progression of Saul's desert trip, right?
Right, and you see he takes a suit, which you almost don't even recognize in this configuration, and he takes his undershirt, and you can notice it's his undershirt because you still got the imprint of the inside of the back of your undershirt on the front of that. So
and
that you
they've
can
carefully
actually see that.
sewn it so it holds this shape exactly.
Yeah, they wanted people to see that.
Amazing. Now, I said this was the end of his trip to the desert, but it's not quite, because this is the end of his trip to the desert.
Yes, he does make it out of the desert, and he ends up in a convenience store with Mike, and he ends up finding about as cheesy of a T-shirt. Both of them end up sort of decorating themselves with what was available in the convenience store, and this is Saul's costume, and you can see his flip-flops that go with it. Still have a little bit of distressing on that as well.
Well, you know, in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, it was very clear that the filmmakers were always wanting to tip their hat to great films and TV shows of the past. And I like to imagine that this is their nod to Pulp Fiction, to when Jules and Vince have to put on those crappy Banana Slugs t-shirts to let the wolf help them out of the situation.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're
I'm
probably
totally sure I'm right about that. That is... Now, on to Mike. One of the things I love most about Mike Ehrmantraut as a character, I mean, Jonathan Banks, the actor, is so amazing in his personification of that. But then Mike is ready for everything, right? Like, Mike has to go to the desert. He knows exactly the right outfit to wear to protect Saul out in the desert, and this is his desert getup.
Yeah, he doesn't wear the undershirt on his head. He actually has a proper hat.
Yeah.
That
But I love that we've got this really intense sweat staining around the shirt. They must have made a bunch of these.
They did. They were actually all sweat stained like this, so that it would stay consistent. But yes, he was out in the desert for days, and you can see what happens to a shirt like this if you actually sweat in it for days and days. You actually see the actual salt from his sweat actually congeal onto his costume itself.
And honestly, the closer I get to it, the more real it looks. There is no uncanny valley looking at the staining on these things. It is really uncanny.
Yeah.
Now, as part of Mike's desert journey, there's the craft project he built with his granddaughter.
Yeah, well, this is, so this was actually something they should have a sequence of him actually at home with his granddaughter making, arts and crafts. And one of those things was to actually blow out a truck. And what I think is great about this is just like, you can actually make a hose into, something that actually blows out tires.
I'm not sure I'm not positive you could. This seems like it should blow out a tire, but frankly, I, at this moment in time, wish I still had a TV show in which I could test stuff like this.
That would be an awesome test. And
the other thing I love is that, that's a real nail. Ooh. Oh, there's some real nails in here because there's a lot of fake nails. These are all cast fake nails, which makes this a lot more friendly.
Yes,
except for
but they mix in some real ones too.
There are some real ones.
Yes, so maybe not the best thing that you want to carry around with you and fall on, but yes, it very very cool looking. And we were wondering too, is like, could you actually make something like this?
I really want to know. I'm trying to figure
Somebody
out
out there might make
figure
one.
it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, buy a hose. It's probably relatively cheap to make.
But this is one of the items you're auctioning off.
This is, yes, actually used for the show. I think we've got actually the evolution, because it obviously takes them a little bit of time to actually make the final version of this. So we have a couple evolutions of this hose in the auction.
Dude, the thing I love about Saul is, how ordinary all this stuff really is, and yet how powerful the narrative. I look at this and on its own, I'm like, that's a hose with a bunch of nails in it. But from the narrative, I'm thrilled by seeing all these pieces together.
I agree. It's really the context of seeing these things and thinking about the just amazing stories that was told on Better Call Saul. And I think that's what we all loved about it. It was a great storytelling. I think Vince and Peter did an amazing job of sort of leading the show, and the actors obviously did a fantastic job of executing on it and creating stories that we'll all remember for years to come.
And once again, the part of the proceeds of this auction go to benefit 2 Albuquerque charities. Information is in the description below. And this auction starts when?
It's actually going on from August 18th through September the 1st.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.